Good day, sir. Good day, classmates.
I am Shineme Dumabo.
Our report is all about individual intervention, research, and practice. My report is the continuation report of Miss Divine Grace Dotelios. So, what is individual intervention? So, individual intervention is kuan siya kanaang directed specifically toward members of the target group themselves. Or example, they are designed to affect on individual social and cognitive skills and behavioral practices. So, ang example ani is include classroom training or mentoring. Based sa content sa amo ang report, kanang nag-revolve lang siya around sa reading recovery program ug sa researchers' point of view. So, reading recovery program, which is a literacy program designed for the lowest achieving children age around 6 that enables them to reach age expected levels within 20 weeks. So, kuan siya kanaang mentoring program siya nga kuan kanang sa sulod sa kuan 20 ka weeks or ma-enhance or ma-enable or ma-develop ang ilahang capability. It involves a short series of daily one-to-one lessons for 30 minutes with a specially trained teacher. Reading recovery is different for every child, starting from what the child knows and what he or she needs to learn next. The focus of each lesson is to comprehend messages in reading and construct messages in writing, learning how to use letter and word detail fluently without losing focus on meaning and comprehension. So, ang kaning reading recovery program is makatabang sa bata nga maka-focus sa lesson nga para makasabot sila sa ilahang gibasa or maka-direct siya construct og message through writing or kanaang pagtuon sa mga letter or pagsulat with detail kanang fluent kaayo sila. Like for example kanang kabalo sila sa ilahang gisulat, kabalo sila each letter, kabalo sila each word unsay meaning. So research shows that reading recovery achieves good results that are swift and long-lasting. So ako ang report karon ipakita nako ang mga studies sa mga laing country nga nakagamit na aning reading recovery kung unsa ang ilahang kuan impact sa students, unsa ang results. In view of this finding, it could be instructive to examine the impact of reading recovery on at-risk students selected from classes where an explicit phonologically based rather than a psycholinguistic program was in operation. A study in New South Wales, Australia, conducted by Center and others 2001, examined the effects of reading recovery intervention on the reading proficiency of regular and low progress Year 1 students in 6 classrooms where 2 different early literacy instructional programs were used. Okay, so the first program was meaning-oriented while the second program, a code-oriented one, was implemented in the same 6 kindergarten and Year 1 classrooms 1 year later when the 3 target schools decided to change their early literacy program. The code-oriented program, known as School-Wide Early Language and Literacy or SWEL, Center and Freeman 1996A, and adapted from Success for All, stressed the explicit instruction of phonological awareness and the alphabetic code in context. The meaning-oriented programs tended to have a whole language perspective so that teachers favor the use of syntactic, semantic, and pragmatic information and surrounding text as the primary means of initial printed word recognition. So, on comparison group, all students, including both regular and reading recovery students in the 6 non-SWEL classrooms, were tested on 4 early literacy measures at the end of year 1 when they had completed 2 years of schooling.
And on the experimental group was
At the end of the following year, all year 1 students in the 6 SWEL classrooms were tested on the same early literacy measures when they had completed 2 years of schooling. The results of the study indicated that all regular and reading recovery students in SWEL classes significantly outperformed their regular and reading recovery counterparts in non-SWEL classes on tests measuring pseudo-word decoding, reading connected text, invented spelling, and a standardized reading measure at the end of year 1. However, reading recovery students as a group, whether in SWEL or non-SWEL classes, did not reach the average level of their peers on any of the 4 literacy measures used. While this latter result supports the use of phonologically based programs in the early school years and is significant in its own right, it was not the main focus of the study. More importantly, for classroom practitioners, the results also revealed that those low-progress children receiving reading recovery in SWEL classes outperformed their at-risk peers in non-SWEL classes in the same way as their regular classmates on all the 4 measures used. In addition, reading recovery students from SWEL classes needed less time to be discontinued successfully from the reading recovery program than their counterparts from the more meaning-oriented classrooms. According to Smith, Burke, and Jagger, cited in Hybert and Taylor, a theoretical orientation of the reading recovery program tends to be more psycholinguistic than that of SWEL. There was always the possibility that the low-progress students from the SWEL classes would be at a disadvantage during intervention, relative to their low-progress peers from the more psycholinguistically oriented classrooms. However, the results of this study seem to contradict current views often held about the incompatibility of reading recovery and structured programs like SWEL in Australia or Success for All in the US, which stress phonemic awareness and phonological recording in the early years of school. Moreover, the findings support those of Iverson and Tonmer 1993 in their modified reading recovery intervention and confirm the hypothesis that children with reading problems will be remediated more quickly if they receive systematic instruction in sound or symbol relatedness. In the study cited above, this training was incorporated into the reading recovery intervention. In our evaluation study, this instruction was a part of the regular SWEL classroom program. It does not seem to be advantageous that the reading recovery students from phonologically based classrooms, where phonemic awareness and the cracking of the alphabetic code are explicitly taught both in isolation and context, significantly outperform students from classrooms where these prerequisites to literacy are not taught in this way. Shanahan and Barr page in their comprehensive review of reading recovery have also suggested that the program should consider modifying its strategies to encompass those that have been found to enhance early literacy acquisition. It is perhaps unduly optimistic to believe that children with specific phonological difficulties and those with a combination of phonological and general cognitive deficiencies who are typical candidates for reading recovery can be returned to their classrooms as full participants after a single period of intervention. There is no doubt that some students who are experientially impoverished will only need a quick fix in order for them to rejoin their peers successfully. Others, however, with problems of a more constitutional origin will need ongoing individualized intervention to avoid Mateo effects. Stanovich, 1986. Our results and those from other recent studies particularize the point made by Shanahan and Barr when they suggest that it would be an unwise strategy to shift all resources for remediation to reading recovery, since some students are likely to require additional support. So, what effective alternatives remain for struggling students in mainstream classrooms who need additional literacy assistance? We already know from our own research that if a school wishes to implement reading recovery, then students will be discontinued more rapidly and with greater success if they experience a structured, code-oriented program prior to their admission to this early intervention. We also know that trained teachers who support students in one-on-one tutorial sessions which complement the objectives taught in regular phonologically based classroom have enjoyed significant remedial success. Indeed, a comparison between early intervention programs based on Success for All or SFA principles in SFA schools and reading recovery intervention programs in much non-SFA schools recorded a substantial effect size in favor of low progress students and SFA schools. As cost is always a critical issue, what about cheaper tutorial models using trained volunteers rather than trained teachers when cost precludes the use of the latter? Wasik, 1998, page 282, in her overview of this type of program, found that in order for such an intervention program to be successful, the following four features need to be observed. The first features that is need to be observed is the presence of a designated coordinator who is knowledgeable about reading instruction. Second is the use of structure and inclusion in each session of a new book reading, a familiar book reading, a word analysis and letter or sound relationships, and writing activities that include composing activities. Third features need to be observed is that the training provided to volunteers which involves the use of scaffolding and explicit modeling of word reading and writing strategies. And the fourth features need to be observed is the coordination between the volunteer program and the classroom instruction, exemplified by the use of controlled vocabulary readers if the class uses basal readers. So finally, a no-cost and a win-win solution to tutorial models involves the use of peer or cross-age tutors, since it appears that both are likely to benefit from such interactions. Cohen and others, 1982. I have already alluded to the mutual benefits of learning partner or peer dyads. There is also evidence that when cross-age tutors who are below grade average There is also evidence that when cross-age tutors who are below grade average help low progress students both improve. However, if students are assisted by above average cross-age tutors, it appears logically enough that gains are restricted to the former. Stahl and Kohn, 2000. That could be all, sir, and classmates. Thank you for watching and listening.